This is possibly going to be the most boring but most beneficial vlog that I've ever done, because today we're talking about in-hand walk poles. See, that's where you'd pan. Yeah, that's nice. We'll like add some explosions or something, and it'll make it look. That'll jazz it up. Yeah, there's a shot. Perfect. There really isn't a way of jazzing this up, but I put a story on my socials last night and I've had so many requests of people wanting to, actually more than one request, Pete. Genuinely, probably the most requests I've had for anything, which is slightly insulting. But a lot of people wanted me to talk through how I do my in-hand work. So we've come out very casual today. You'll see I've got Jamie here. She's literally in a head collar, and I've got, this is a Lemure head collar and rope. A nice long one, just gives you a little bit more sort of movement. And what I really like about it is the little tassels on the end, which you'll see. So I'm going to take you through, firstly, I've got what I call my water treadmill, my fake water treadmill here, which is basically every single poly jump pole that I have put out at a walk distance. Jam, if you wouldn't mind if we just come over here, because I get a lot of people asking about distances. Now, honestly, you really don't have to stress about it that much. I roughly walk mine about one step. Obviously, if you've got a tiny pony, make that a little bit smaller. If you've got a great big horse, you can make it a little bit bigger. You don't need to stress about all of the spaces being the exact same increment, because the whole point of doing these walk pole exercises is to get the horses thinking, get their hoof-eye coordination better, getting them to stretch, to shorten. So if they're wonky, if they kick them around a bit, honestly, don't worry. Like, the less we can worry about this and just let the horses pick their way through, ironically, the more it's going to help them. And then I've got another exercise here, which only requires 3 poles. I mean, to be honest, you could actually do it with just 1 pole. I know I am incredibly lucky to have the sponsorship with Polyjumps, which means I can set out all those poles. You don't have to have that many, fear not, guys. Honestly, if you're just doing a few in a row, it just means you're doing more turns back and forth over to get them stepping more. But whatever you can do is massively beneficial. It doesn't even have to be poles. Like, I used to do it with upside down guttering. I used to get logs and like drag them in from the field if they'd fallen. Anything that will make your horse like just step up a little bit is going to be a huge benefit for them. Obviously, just make sure that you're doing it in a really safe way. You'll see as well, some of mine are raised. Again, like Polyjumps has such a fabulous array. Like, genuinely, if you are going to be investing in some jumps, then cannot recommend them enough. They're the most affordable but long-lasting ones I've ever come across. I've still got Polyjumps from when I was like 6. I think I got some for my 6th birthday. They go on and on and on, and they've got loads of different ways of raising them, which obviously is fantastic because it makes the horses work that little bit harder. So before I show you my 3 exercises I can do with this, and obviously what it looks like when we go down that long line of poles, I wanted to quickly talk to you about the benefits of walk poles and why I do it, because I know it's a little bit boring. It's not the most exciting thing to watch. It's not the most exciting thing to do. Genuinely, if you do it regularly, I guarantee you will see a difference in your horses. It's something, groundwork, something I've done with my horses for years and years and years. As you know, I have a lot of ponies, and no offense, Jam, a lot of them don't have the best conformation. Jam and Winnie are both built very downhill. They've not got strong cores, which makes them weaker over their sort of SI lumbar region. And then they don't want to sort of sit on their backside. So we were kind of set up to fail from the get-go, which is why I use pole work and in-hand work really regularly to just strengthen them as much as I can. We're going to be working on their core. We're going to be strengthening their back end, getting them just to lift and lower their necks, working on their sort of bilateral movement and strengthening that up. There are so many benefits. I am actually hopefully going to be doing a video with my physio very soon where I'll talk a little bit more about the in-hand work I do at Walk, Trot, Canter. But today, because it's a quick casual one, We're just focusing on the walk. The reason I've got Jammy out here is because if you watched one of my recent videos, she actually had her SIs injected about 2 weeks ago. So she's been doing loads of pole work and will continue to do loads of this in hand and pole work. But again, I'm now rebuilding, re-strengthening, just trying to do as much as I possibly can to get her as strong as possible. It's not very common for event riders to do this kind of work, but I do really, really believe in it. No, it's not going to help your cardiovascular fitness at all for your horses, but it will really strengthen them, and then it's going to help with things like fatigue, cross country. If you've got a horse that suddenly like starts jumping really flat, or just really sort of struggles with their muscles the next day after an event, say if you're like 3-day eventing and you're going cross country in the middle and then they come out really tired and fatigued the next day for show jumping, this is the kind of stuff that we can be doing. Have strong horses, but just make sure you're doing your galloping on top. You can't just do walk poles and then expect them to be fit enough for an event. Right, let's start over this exercise. Bear in mind, guys, these are all things that I've like picked up from physios and instructors and things like that over the years. I'm going to do my best to explain it and explain how it's helping, but I do not have a physio degree. So I would always suggest speaking to your physio before doing any of this, making sure that it's right for your horse, especially if you're sort of rehabbing from an injury. You just want to make sure that you're targeting the right things. Right, Jammy. So first thing for this, we are going to be working on getting her stepping up and across. So we're just going to come over our poles like this in a zigzag. And what you want to try and do is doesn't matter if they kick them, as soon as their front feet kind of cross that pole, start asking them for their bend, because the main thing we're wanting here are those hind legs coming up and across, because that's such a good movement for them. So that's what we're trying to get, is when she comes over, she's stepping up and over like that. Also really good for them to do the bending, do the flexing. Oh, so we overshot that a bit. So think about turn. Good, turn. It's all right, well done. Good girl. I'll just correct that pole. So turn. Good, that's all right. Well done. And like you can see, Jam has been doing this for years and years and years. So her posture is really, really nice when she's going through this. We want that nose down, ideally the nose out in front, but like that nice long neck, because the longer we get the muscles, the stronger we're going to make them. We want to just stretch them all out, get them working. Good. Well done, Jemmy. Good. That's it. Oh, flex. Come on. Good. Good girl. So that is exercise number 1. Winnie's like, where's Mum? As I said, you can do this with less poles, but having more in a row does just make it that bit easier, especially if they're going to be tapping them and you're having to like rearrange them all the time. So the next exercise I like to do incorporates a little bit of rein back. It's really important. It's so good for our horses to be able to walk backwards, and also really good, I think, for like strengthening over their bum, their hamstrings, that kind of area. A physio once said that like rein backing them up like a gentle incline is really, really good. So this is kind of a way of sort of replicating that in the arena. So we'll just get her facing like this, and then I'll ask her to walk over the pole. It can look a bit messy, this, guys, but just go with it. But I ask her to walk over the pole so she gets an idea of where it is. Come on, Bam Bam. And then we're going to walk. And if your horse doesn't know how to back up, obviously teach them to back up first. And then you're just going to back them up over the pole really gently, quietly, because she's anticipating where it is. So once she touches it, that's fine. She then has to step over it. Lovely, good girl. Keep going, get the front feet over as well. Good girl. So again, that like lifting going backwards. Like even if you do it yourself as a person, you can feel it's just engaging so many muscles. It's just trying to do stuff that the horses don't do every day by themselves. It's kind of like horsey yoga, I guess, like getting them to stretch, getting them to move in a way that when we're riding them or when they're in the field, they don't necessarily do. All of this stuff you can do whilst riding, and if you've got one that's a little bit crazy on the ground, then maybe teach it to them like that. I really like doing a ground session just because I think when they've not got the weight of a rider, they've not got any tack, like it's lovely for her. She's got nothing in her mouth. She can just completely be a horse and everything can work as nature intended it to. When I first teach my horses groundwork, they come out in a bridle. Normally I do my long line of poles, long reining, but we'll talk about that when we get to them. Right, Jammy, let's do a couple more of these. Come on, darling. Good girl. Well done. Ooh. No, not do that one yet. Good girl. Back. Good girl. That's it. Well done. Well done. Back. Good. Well done. So a sign of weakness when you're backing up, whether you're going over a pole or backing up in general, is when they don't go straight. So you can see Jammy wasn't very straight there. Will just mean that we're stronger one side than the other. Also be conscious of what side you're standing. So try and alternate. I know it's not very BHS of me, but alternate whether you're on the left or the right of them. Right, you're at the pole. Good girl. Back. Come on, back. Back. You're all right. Well done. Good, sweet pea. Keep going. So it's not the prettiest, and they will kick the poles and you will move it back, but they do understand it. They get to understand it. I think the main thing is just don't flap them. Like, it is very different for them, and horses don't like going backwards, and they don't like going backwards into obstacles. You can see Jam doesn't get at all stressed by it because she's done this so many times, but just take your time with it. I mean, when you're first introducing a horse, like, these are nice thin poles, so it's not too much of an ask for them, but you could do it over something smaller if you wanted to. Good girl. Back. Good girl. See, I did it in a really stupid place there because I did it between poles. Well done, Jam Bam. So we're going to do one more proper one, and I'll do it actually in the middle of the pole. Well done. Good girl. The other thing I always do when I'm doing these in-hand sessions is bring little bribes, just to make the horses enjoy it a little bit more and to let them know when they've done something well. That, again, probably isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I think if we can make the sessions enjoyable for the ponies, then it's nice for them to come out and they actually look forward to doing it. Right, the final exercise I do with my 3 poles is my absolute favourite one, which is the leg yielding with the pole between their legs like that. Now, I had such a happy homebred moment last night because I brought Winnie out, and for the first time ever, I've been teaching it to her for genuinely probably a year, and the first time ever she actually came out and she just did it. First time, didn't touch a pole, didn't go over the poles, and it was fab. So I start them away from the pole. Good girl. Because I think if you bring them over it, ask them to step over and then stop them, it's a bit confusing because you've already asked them to step over the pole once. So ideally we don't want them stepping over the pole with any legs. This is why I have my long rope and I have the tassels. So you could sort of use a stick or something just to encourage them over. We are absolutely not hitting them or anything like that, but it's just to encourage them to move their hind quarters over. So like a really, really gentle touch sometimes, just like more to extend your arm so you can be like, no, it's your back end moving. But I find actually with mine, it works quite well with the rope because you can just swing it like that and they actually just see it in the corner of their eye and it doesn't actually have to touch them. So if you walk forward a bit, Jam Bam. Good girl. Well done. This is what we do, and it's a bit unfair because I'm showing you with Jam, who is very good at it. So my left hand is just steadying her and stopping her from walking forwards. And then my right hand honestly isn't having to do very much because she knows the drill. But if you were training a horse, your right hand can be sort of moving the rope, as I said, just to encourage that back end over. Good. Come on, let's try and do the whole thing. Good girl, so close, well done. I love this because it gives you and the horse a visual. So you know you're keeping them straight, you know you're getting that crossover. Again, this is what we're working on here, is the crossing mainly of their hind legs. But I think the pole's a really great way of doing it because you end up getting the visual and you know whether they've done it properly or not. Right, now is when I need to think. So Jam needs to face this way. Yeah, so then if we do it back down, then she's leg yielding the other way. Is that right? Or have I just done that? No, that is right. Okay, so ask her to swing her quarters round. Good girl. Good, she finds it harder this way. So again, we're learning stuff about her. Good, whoa, whoa. Well done. Lovely. Lovely. All right, that's it. Good girl. So you see, sometimes she's getting a really good cross behind, sometimes not so much. Good. Better. Good girl. You have a little carrot, then I think we'll go and do it that way once more. Well done. So if I do it that way, then I can face her this way. See, guys? It's brain exercise for humans as well as exercise for our horses, because I have to try and figure out what way we've done it. Good girl. Okay. Good. Come on, hind end. Well done. Oh. Oh. Good. Good. I know. Good. Good. Very good. Keep at it. One more. Well done. She's like, give me grass. Good girl, Jammy. So those are my 3 exercises that I do with my poles. Forgot to say beforehand for that last one, and another really good exercise we can get them is just to move their quarters round. So this is how I tend to teach them, and you try and just keep their front feet sort of in the same kind of place, and you just teach them about moving their quarters over, because they've got to understand what your instructions mean before you ask them to go down the pole. So this is how good girl. Ooh. How I taught Winnie. It's just getting them to move away from something, and then you can progress up to the poles. This is what we should be doing with our carrots, isn't it? Is do little stretches. Do little stretches. Right. So the last thing of our session is our water treadmill, which is pretty easy. It's essentially just walking over our poles. As I said, some are raised, some aren't. If you're starting a horse out for the very first time, don't do this many poles if you are lucky enough to have this many poles, and don't do them raised. So I would always introduce horses to pole work very, very gently, mostly just so they can get their heads wrapped around it. Now, as I did say earlier as well, this, in an ideal world, if you've got more time, you do it with them with a roller on, with a bridle and with long reins, so that you can go behind them and you can make sure that they stay super duper straight, because you can see ever so slightly when I walk down it with Jam in hand like this, she's going to be curved slightly to me. So it's fine to do it in hand, but just be conscious of it and try and alternate what side you walk with them, so that at least if they are ever so slightly flexing towards you, then you're still keeping it equal. Again, for this, you want her posture in an ideal world to be down, long, low, looking where she's going, keeping a really nice loose connection on her head so that she's got all of the movement that she needs. I'm not like pulling her around, and she's got the opportunity to sort of look and seek the poles if she needs to. Good girl. When I tell you that my horses used to literally crash through walk poles, because everyone always comments like, oh, I'd love this with mine, but we'd just send all the poles scattered. Don't worry, mine did the exact same thing. You've just got to keep at it, guys. Jam was the queen, Jam and Winnie actually, the queen of just not caring at all about poles. You've just, like, the more you keep at it, the more respect they'll have for it. You'll see she knocked one there. Yeah, it's just one of those things. But if you really, really want to improve them, then you've just got to be consistent with it. Good girl. Swap you over again. You've been very good. Yeah, be consistent, and they do improve. But this is just insane for them. Like I said, I'm so lucky to have all these, but it's essentially a water treadmill without the resistance. So every single step she's doing, she's having to lift, she's having to engage, as am I. It's a good workout for us as well. And the more she like stretches long and low, we're lengthening that back, strengthening the core. The craziest thing, I was chatting to my physio the other day, and she was telling me about a horse that had basically had to be given a 6-week rehab plan in hand because it had gotten quite bad. And they actually, after, because the owner was really good, they stuck to it meticulously. And at the end of it, the horse had actually lengthened its back by nearly 2 inches. And I was like, Izzy, that's so weird, because Dee did the exact same thing when she was younger, but no one believed me, but she changed to saddle size. And apparently it's because if a horse gets really, really bad and has really bad posture, they get very dipped in the back and they lose all their core muscle. Good girl. But if you actually strengthen up that core muscle and they go like this, it allows them to not gain length, but just have what they should naturally have if they're really well properly muscled. So I thought that was an amazing way of like visually seeing the working and helping out. You'll notice back there, she's kicked a pole. Fix it if you want to fix it. Otherwise, it's Jam's job to adjust her stride a little bit. It's really not the end of the world. We don't have to get too serious with it. Honestly, just doing anything you can. Like, I know it is hard, it's time consuming, it's not the most enjoyable. Even if you can do it sporadically, it will make a difference. But if you can do it two to 3 times a week for 6 weeks, you will see a really noticeable difference in your horse. Come on, we're just getting a little bit lazy there. Good girl. Very good. Hey, Jammy. This is where you've got to negotiate it a bit. She's like, yeah, easy, mum. Good girl. So that is a whistle stop tour of my in-hand walk pole work sessions. I tend to sort of try and do an in-hand session with my horses once a week if I can, but otherwise they might do something like Winnie today is going to go for a hack, and then she'll come in and she'll just walk over the poles for a little bit at the end. It really is wherever you can do it. Jam has been doing it like pretty much every day at the moment, just because I'm essentially doing like a mini rehab thing. But as I said, anything you can do will make a really, really big difference for your horse. We are trying to like increase performance at the end of the day. Like, that's obviously something that I'm trying to do, but it's also trying to just give the horses longevity, trying to prevent injuries, just keeping them strong and keep them as long lasting and as happy as possible. We know that the more sort of exercise humans do, the better they age. And it's the same with horses. If we can do this low impact but core strengthening work, then hopefully we're going to have long lasting, happy horses that end up having a late retirement and still a nice retirement because they've got all of that muscle memory and strength. I'm probably talking a lot of rubbish. Again, guys, huge caveat, I'm not a physio. It's just something that does really interest me, and I've asked a lot of questions over the years. Might send this to my physio just to check before I actually post it in case I've said something really stupid. But if you do enjoy these types of videos, let me know in the comments, because Izzy is incredibly busy, but she's said that she wouldn't mind coming over and we can film a little video and I can show you more on the 2 lines what I do, and she can actually talk us through all of the scientific stuff rather than me just pointing to bits and be like, I think it strengthens this part. Anyway, hope it was helpful, and I hope the 20 odd people that requested it enjoyed it, realised that jam needs to stretch once more this side to be equal. We don't move our bum when we do carrot stretches. Right, live, laugh, love you guys. See you very soon. Bye. Oh, very good, well done. Use a good girl. Easy whack. Easy whack.